Have you ever wondered why some people seem to dislike you even when you've done absolutely nothing wrong? Why, despite your kindness, respect, and good intentions, do you sometimes receive cold stares, unfair criticism, or silent hostility? It can be confusing. It can even make you question yourself. You begin to wonder whether you said something wrong, whether you offended someone without realizing it, or whether there is something about you that naturally pushes people away. But what if the truth is far more surprising? What if their dislike is not really about you at all? Before we begin, if you're interested in psychology, philosophy, and learning how to protect your self-respect in a world that often misunderstands genuine people, make sure to subscribe and like this video. These lessons may completely change the way you see yourself and others. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche spent much of his life examining the hidden motivations behind human behavior. He understood something that most people never realize. When someone hates you for no apparent reason, that hatred often reveals more about them than it does about you. And once you understand why, you stop taking every judgment personally. You stop carrying the weight of other people's opinions. Most importantly, you become free. The first reason people may dislike you has nothing to do with your actions. It has everything to do with what you represent. Many people do not react to who you actually are. They react to what they see reflected in you. Perhaps you are disciplined. Perhaps you are confident. Perhaps you are pursuing goals that others only talk about. Without realizing it, your existence becomes a mirror. And mirrors can be uncomfortable. When people look at someone who possesses qualities they wish they had, they are forced to confront their own shortcomings. Instead of using that discomfort as motivation for growth, some choose a different path. They turn their frustration outward. Jealousy rarely introduces itself honestly. It rarely says, "I wish I had what you have." Instead, it disguises itself as criticism. People may call you lucky when you've worked hard. They may downplay your achievements. They may search for flaws to make themselves feel better. But beneath these reactions often lies a simple truth. Your strengths remind them of what they have not yet developed within themselves. Nietzsche believed that many human conflicts originate from hidden feelings of inadequacy. When people cannot overcome those feelings, they often attack the person who unintentionally triggered them. The second reason people may dislike you is because success makes others uncomfortable. Most people admire success from a distance. But when someone close to them begins improving, their reaction can become surprisingly different. Because your progress forces them to examine their own choices. Every goal you achieve becomes evidence that improvement is possible. Every step forward challenges the excuses they have been telling themselves for years. This is why personal growth sometimes attracts resistance instead of support. Imagine two people standing in the same place. One decides to take responsibility for their life, develop new skills, and pursue meaningful goals. The other remains where they are. As time passes, the gap between them grows. The person who stayed behind now faces a difficult choice. They can either accept responsibility for their situation or blame the person who moved forward. Unfortunately, many choose the second option. Your success becomes a reminder of opportunities they ignored, risks they avoided, and effort they refused to make. And because facing those realities is painful, resentment begins to grow. The third reason people may dislike you is one of the oldest forces in human psychology: fear of difference. Human beings naturally seek familiarity. We feel comfortable around people who think like us, act like us, and share our beliefs. But what happens when someone refuses to follow the crowd? What happens when someone thinks independently, challenges social expectations, or chooses a path that others do not understand? History provides countless examples. Many innovators, creators, philosophers, and visionaries were mocked long before they were respected. Society often resists what it cannot immediately understand. When you refuse to conform, some people interpret your uniqueness as a threat. Not because you are harming them, but because your existence challenges their assumptions about how life should be lived. And whenever deeply held beliefs are challenged, discomfort follows. That discomfort can quickly transform into criticism, rejection, or hostility. The fourth reason people may dislike you is that confidence often threatens insecure individuals. Many people assume that confidence is universally admired. In reality, confidence can be deeply unsettling to those who struggle with self-worth. Think about it. When you no longer seek constant validation, when you stop apologizing for your existence, and when you become comfortable with who you are, some people begin to misinterpret your behavior. Your self-respect may be labeled arrogance. Your independence may be mistaken for superiority. Your ability to stand alone may appear intimidating to those who depend entirely on external approval. Nietzsche often emphasized the importance of becoming who you truly are rather than living according to the expectations of others. Yet this process comes with a price. The more secure you become within yourself, the less control others have over you. And people who are accustomed to controlling others rarely appreciate losing that influence. This is why confidence often attracts criticism. Not because confidence is wrong, but because it exposes insecurity wherever insecurity exists. The fifth reason people may dislike you is something many individuals experience during periods of personal growth. As you evolve, your relationships begin to change. At first, this can be painful. You may notice that certain people become distant. Some may become unusually critical. Others may even attempt to pull you back into old habits. The question is why? The answer is simple. Many relationships are built upon familiar roles. People become comfortable with who they think you are. They become attached to a version of you that fits their expectations. But growth changes those expectations. When you become stronger, wiser, more disciplined, or more self-aware, you no longer fit the role they assign to you. And for some people, that change feels threatening. They preferred the version of you that doubted yourself. They preferred the version that always said yes. They preferred the version that was easier to influence. The moment you begin establishing boundaries and pursuing your own path, resistance often appears. This does not mean your growth is wrong. In fact, it may be evidence that your growth is working. Sometimes losing certain relationships is not a sign of failure. Sometimes it is the natural consequence of becoming your authentic self. The sixth reason may be the most surprising of all. Sometimes hatred hides admiration. At first, this idea sounds strange. Why would someone criticize a person they secretly admire? Because admiration can be uncomfortable when it is mixed with insecurity. Pay attention to people who claim to dislike someone yet constantly discuss them. They monitor their actions. They follow their progress. They focus enormous amounts of attention on someone they supposedly cannot stand. This contradiction reveals something important. Genuine indifference requires very little energy. People rarely obsess over things they truly do not care about. In many cases, excessive criticism masks fascination. The person may envy qualities they wish they possessed. They may admire achievements they have not reached. But instead of acknowledging those feelings honestly, they transform admiration into hostility. Nietzsche understood that human emotions are often far more complicated than they appear on the surface. What looks like hatred may sometimes be a distorted expression of respect, envy, fascination, or longing. Now comes the most important question. What should you do when people dislike you for reasons that have nothing to do with your character? Many people make the same mistake. They try to please everyone. They constantly explain themselves. They seek approval from people who have already decided to misunderstand them. But this approach never works. No matter how carefully you behave, no matter how kind you are, and no matter how much you sacrifice, there will always be individuals who dislike you. Not because you failed. Not because you are unworthy. But because their reaction was never truly about you. The moment you understand this, something powerful happens. You stop carrying burdens that do not belong to you. You stop measuring your worth through the opinions of strangers. You stop allowing criticism to control your decisions. Instead, you focus on what you can control. Your actions, your character, your growth, your response. This is perhaps the greatest lesson Nietzsche offers. You cannot control what others think. You cannot force people to understand you. You cannot eliminate jealousy, insecurity, or resentment from the world. But you can decide how much power those things have over your life. Every criticism becomes a choice. You can allow it to weaken you, or you can allow it to strengthen you. Every judgment becomes a crossroads. You can spend your life chasing acceptance. Or you can spend your life becoming the person you were meant to be. The truth is that people may dislike you because you remind them of what they wish they were. Your success may expose their excuses. Your uniqueness may challenge their beliefs. Your confidence may highlight their insecurities. Your growth may disrupt their comfort. And sometimes, their hatred may conceal admiration they cannot openly admit. So the next time you encounter unexplained criticism or hostility, remember this. Do not immediately assume something is wrong with you. Look deeper. Often, the reactions of others reveal their inner struggles far more than they reveal your flaws. Stay authentic. Continue growing. Protect your self-respect. And never allow someone else's opinion to become the measure of your value. Because the people who are determined to judge you will always find a reason. But the people who truly matter will recognize your character, your effort, and your courage to remain yourself in a world that constantly pressures you to be someone else. And that is a freedom no amount of criticism can ever take away.